Bryan Kohberger, the man convicted of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, has filed a petition to take back his guilty plea. In an interview from prison, Kohberger said he wants to reopen the case, alleging that he was misled into that guilty plea deal. In a message to the New York Times, he wrote, quote, "My actual innocence is my truth, and the plea, hinged on by false promises and blatant disinformation, must be withdrawn." There's a lot to unpack here, so let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris for more on this. So, Misty, I think the first natural question here is, can he do this? Like, is there a precedent for doing something like this?
Yeah, so Brian, when there's a guilty plea, he waives all of his rights to pursue an appeal. So he can't pursue an appeal, but a Supreme Court case and a constitutional right is that any defendant does not waive their right to seek what's called post-conviction relief. So there's this narrow area that he can pursue this path to get rid of his guilty plea and ultimately go to trial. But it's not buyer's remorse, right? It's not, oh, I wish I didn't plead guilty, I changed my mind. It's specific requirements. So it's ineffective assistance of counsel, newly discovered evidence, or that the plea was not voluntary, like there was coercion. Now, here he says he was convinced by his attorneys to falsely confess. So that's the basis. He can pursue it. Really, really difficult path, though.
So is this about the attorneys or is this about the plea deal? And I guess the question is that, if this was part of a plea deal, what does it do to that deal now that he says that, all right, hey, I actually want to kind of scrap this and start over?
So it's attacking the plea deal, but there has to be a reason to do it. So those underlying reasons are the bases that he can move forward. So say he's successful, hypothetically, Brian, because we know what happened. He took the plea deal. That took the death penalty off the table. But if he were to be successful, withdraw this plea, he would move forward to trial, but guess what? That means the plea is null and void. So prosecutors could actually pursue the death penalty. That's a million miles down the road because this is just his intention to say he preserves the right to move forward with trying to get rid of the plea. But that would be the potential outcome, is that the death penalty is at play.
Right, which, as you mentioned, is kind of down the road.
Way down the road.
But what are the next steps? Like, I guess the judge is going to have to consider this petition. And that would mean, presumably, as you point out, that the whole trial would essentially begin again, and then that death penalty would be back on the table.
Yeah, so here's what's interesting. So he stood in a court of law before Judge Hippler, and he signed 3 documents. This is Kohberger, that said, I'm guilty. I'm making this plea voluntarily, that my counsel was sufficient. And he said that right to Judge Hippler. Hippler asked him every question under the sun.
Yeah.
Guess who reviews this petition first? Judge Hippler.
Same judge.
Same judge. So that will go to that same judge, and then if the result is not what he likes, which is potentially what could happen, then it can go up to a higher court. But remember, there's something really difficult to overcome, and the standard here to scrap this plea deal is what's called manifest injustice. I mean, basically, there has to be some kind of misconduct by his lawyers that was the reason he entered into the plea deal to get rid of it. The standard is so high, but it's something he can pursue, but it's just very, very unlikely to be successful ultimately.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I mean, this could start a whole new, chapter for this case, which we'll have to watch very closely. But
Yes.
Misty Marris, thank you so much for the breakdown this evening.
Thank you.